Hey everybody, I want to welcome you to our 2021 Block of the Month program. I'm Melanie Coakley with Ready, Set, Sew, and for those of you that weren't able to come in to an actual classroom setting, and even if you did, just wanted to shoot this video so that you would stay on target for what we're trying to accomplish with the Harmony Block of the Month for our 2021 project. So you'll notice that I have my book. I have my new fabrics. They're not what the book has used, but the fabrics that we have chosen to do this project. So the first thing we have to do is create a new key based on the fabrics that we have chosen. So if you'll open your books, you will see that on the left-hand side, a couple of pages in, that this is the existing key for the fabrics that she used for the book. But we're going to change that. So if you did not receive it by coming into class and you need it emailed, then let me know and we will email you the new list with the new fabrics on it. Once you have this, you're going to take and actually staple or paste that over the existing key so that you do not get confused. Now Sharon, who is absolutely wonderful with all this information, has actually gone in and taken pictures of the fabrics we're using and substituted them for the ones that are in the book, and that's why I want you to cover up what's in the book. The names have stayed the same because we didn't want to have to rewrite the entire pattern. Excuse me. So she has printed them. Now you all know that sometimes in a printer situation that the color inks don't exactly do the fabric justice. So I do encourage you to take and cut squares, and that's what I've done here on this notebook, is I actually took and cut squares of the fabrics and put them over the existing fabrics so that I wouldn't be confused. So if you want to do that, and I did get a little binder notebook to keep everything in, so you may want to do that as well. Now, in this book, we also took the existing squares with the fabrics and we covered over them with the actual fabrics. This is what we're using, this is what they used. So you can cover over page 1 of the book because the instructions are the same, it's just that the colors have changed. You will see that the page 2 goes over it using the fabrics that we're using. So that's pretty straightforward and pretty simple. If you did not get it, we can send that to you electronically. You can print it out, which is another reason if you are printing them yourself that it's important for you to cut the squares and put over the correct names for your key. Okay, is everybody with me on that? I hope so. I think you're all going to be doing really well with this. You want to be sure and read the instructions. You can tell where Sharon took pictures and copied them and put them over the order in which you're going to be using them. When I did it, I just cut my little samples and stuck them beside each one because it's really important that you do not get yourself confused in doing this. The instructor of the book also recommends that you read over each month before you start cutting. There will be times like on this month you're going to have fabric left over that you will use in month 2. So just read your instructions carefully. You're going to be using a 1/4 inch seam, and just a couple of things that I wanted to go over with you. In her book, you'll notice that she draws lines from corner to corner. There's this wonderful tool that I found. It's called a magic wand. If you need one, you can call me and we will mail you one out. They're not very expensive. I think they're like, I don't know, maybe $2.99, $1.99, something like that. And it helps you in getting your lines straight for sewing. And you'll also want to try to use a friction pin, something that disappears or goes away with heat, like the friction pin does. So you'll see that you're going to be putting these squares together if you're using the correct key, this one, exactly like the book shows, so that your squares turn out exactly like these. So something I want to point out is that when you see the arrows that point this way and point this way, that means that your seams, once you have your block and it looks like this, the seam gets pressed that way or that way and that way. So pay careful attention to the arrows in which way she wants you to press your seams. Now all the seams in this block of the month are 1/4 inch seams. So I would suggest that you have a 1/4 inch foot for your particular sewing machine so that you can stay as precise with this as you can. It's like when my dad would cut a board, he would say measure twice, cut once. So we want to try to stay as accurate as we can, so everything is a 1/4 inch seam. If you want a little bit closer up, then I'll do this so that you can see that this is the fabric that's called Purple Dappled, and there is the number, and that coincides with what's in the book. This is the green, which is called Aqua On Point, and it's very similar to this one. And that's why I want you to pay close attention, because the printer doesn't do it justice. Is you'll notice that this one has a speckled print to it. So this is the Aqua On Point 0601-1020, which is different from the Aqua Flying. So just mark your fabrics like I've done. This is Purple Pop Floral, and it has the number, and this coincides with what's in the book. Purple Shimmer, and I love these fabrics. They're absolutely beautiful. Aqua Striated, Purple Flying, and Aqua Flying. So if you mark your fabrics and make sure you're choosing the right ones, the instructions in the book tell you precisely what to cut. So for example, on your Purple Pop Floral, you're going to cut from each of these 2 3.5 by 21 inch strips, and then recut into 16 2 inch by 3.5 inch B rectangles. So follow your instructions and know that you will have some fabric left over that you will use on month 2. The other things to consider, just to kind of pay a little bit more attention to, is that she says in here that your finished square is going to be 9 inches. Now that's finished. That means after the 1/4 inch seams are taken when it's sewn to the other blocks that you haven't made yet. So I'm going to measure this and show you this just so you can see. And you're going to be making 4 of these. I just love this fabric. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, and 4's lagging behind over here. Okay, so you're going to be making 4 of these squares, and I'll put a ruler here against it because your your completed square, it's hard for me to do with all this camera apparatus here. Your finished square is not finished, sorry, when you have sewn these together, I'll get it up here on the dark side so you can see it, is going to be 9.5. So from edge to edge is 9.5 in both directions. Don't be confused. She's talking in the book about a finished square, which is going to be equal to 9 inches, and that's because you're going to take a 1/4 inch seam here and a 1/4 inch seam here, which finished after it's sewn together will be 9 inches. And I know that can be confusing to some because it was to me. Just know that this square with the raw edges should be 9.5 on the cut sides, so that it's 9 inches finished when it's actually sewn together. There's a couple of tools that I want to recommend, and I didn't bring one with me, but it's called the Tucker Trimmer, and we also have those. And what the Tucker Trimmer does is it allows you to cut and trim your squares the size that they need to be with these shapes in them, so that you're not worried about the square not being the right size. So I do recommend the Tucker trimmers, and we have those. We just got them in, and we were a little bit late getting them in because of COVID and the shipments and the delays and all that we've been experiencing. So I can't think of anything else that we need to talk about other than to pay attention to those few things and make sure that you allow, I would say allow at least 2 hours of time to make one of these squares. So you're going to have 2, 4, 6, at least 8 hours of sewing, and that's just the sewing part. You need to allow additional time for the cutting of each of these pieces. And I like personally to cut everything first and then go back and start doing my sewing. So I'll put all my piles together of my 3.5 by 21 strips, and then I'll cut them 2 inches by 3.5 in rectangles, just so that all I have to do when I start sewing is pull and put together and stitch. So if you have any questions, just give us a call. The number is 423-629-6411, and ask for Melanie, and I will field or answer any questions that you have about this wonderful block of the month. I'm so excited to be doing this one. The colors are absolutely beautiful, and I think you're going to enjoy it. You're going to learn a lot. There's a little bit of applique involved, and we'll get a little bit more involved with that when that month shows up. But aside from that, I think I've covered everything. Just make sure that you have your key in the correct place so that you know which fabrics you're supposed to use. And you can see on those greens, see how some of them are very close. This is really close in tone with this one, but this one has the green speckle in it, and that's why I want to be sure that you are using the correct key from your fabrics, because you can see these are really close. So I want you to be cutting the correct fabrics. We do have oops kits available in case you do make an oops, and I recommend that because especially if anything can happen and you can miscut something. So if you need an oops kit, you can give us a call. Be sure and call us to reserve one of the Tucker trimmers for you that we just got in today. And I think that's about it. If I've missed anything, again, don't hesitate to call. The number is 423-629-6411. And I'm looking forward to being on this journey for 9 months doing the Harmony Block of the Month 2021. Thank you.